Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Maggie. This is my second video in which we are going to talk about an introduction to color analysis. In this video I'm going to explain to you the three aspects which can help you determine your own color season. And to take this test, because it is sort of a test or a quiz if you want, you will have to tie back your hair, wear no makeup at all because we need a blank canvas to really see the colors in our skin. And the best thing is to have natural lighting, because if it's too warm toned, obviously the results are going to be biased, and we want a really blank canvas so that we can see which colors are actually already in our skin, in our eyes, or sometimes even in our hair. I also recommend that you write everything down, but that is just a personal preference for me. I like to have things in order. If you are more of a person that's on the go and you just remember these things, that's fine too. But yeah, if you really want to get into it, I would recommend writing it all down somewhere. I know that at the moment there are a lot of videos online of people getting their colors analyzed professionally, and I feel like that's a really cool thing. I really want to do that in the future. I haven't really found anyone around me in my area that does that, so no professional stylist or anything like that. But yeah, in the future I would really like that. But for now, you don't need to pay hundreds or sometimes even thousands of euros or dollars, depending on where you live, pounds, I don't know, to get your colors analyzed, because you can do it yourself at home. And I've done it and it's turned out quite well. I've done it for my friends. It's really easy and I'm going to show you how you can do it. With this topic, there's obviously the question, do I actually need color analysis? And I'm gonna say it, no, you don't. You don't. It's a fun feature, it's a fun test that you can do, but nobody's forcing you, because I've seen lots of comments under other videos of the same topic that are like, nobody can tell me what I can wear and what I can't wear. If I have a certain favorite color, I will wear that. Don't tell me what to do. And nobody is telling you what to do. If you have certain colors that you like, and maybe they are not on the color palette that you're going to get once you find out your color season, wear it anyways. It's fine, it's whatever. These aren't just guidelines, they aren't rules. You can do whatever you want. You don't have to adhere to these colors that you are going to get in the end. So just do whatever feels right for you. But this is just a method, a tool. If you want to find out more about colors, then you can, and this is what this is here for. I am making videos about this because I really believe in it. I think it's a really cool tool and it's helped me personally to find my own style, or to feel more secure in my style and the colors that I am wearing. For example, today I am wearing this brown dress which I thrifted 1.5 years ago. I love it. First of all, it really suits my body type, but that is a different video. And the color I think is just lovely. I love brown. Brown is one of my favorite colors. Brown, beige, neutrals in general. And it looks good on me, I believe, because it's warm toned, it's neutral, it's not overpowering, so the color isn't like too strong or too into your face, so it doesn't take away from my colors in my face. I feel overall it's just a really nice color. And I'm going to show you a couple of more pictures where you can see which colors look good on me and which ones don't. And this is how I found out what colors I want to wear more often and which ones I would rather stay away from. Once again, just guidelines. If I wanted to wear a certain color, I could certainly do it and nobody is going to judge me for it. It's just that I really like what colors can do. So there are three main aspects that we are going to talk about here, and they are going to determine which color season you are. The first of the three aspects that we are going to look at is your skin undertone, which can be either warm toned or cool toned. It's important to say that all of these things are always on the spectrum, so it's very rare that you're going to be one of the people that is completely cool toned or completely warm toned. That's usually not the case, which makes things a bit hard because we want to see clear results to make things easy, but we're always on a spectrum and sometimes we lean towards neutral, and it's really difficult to find out which side we fall on. but the following tests are going to help you to determine your skin undertone. So there are different tests that you can do to find out your own skin undertone. The first one is to look at your veins. And with that, I mean the veins that are right here, or maybe there, depends on where you can see them most clearly. And then you're going to look for the color of these veins. So naturally they are blue, but when you look at them, do they lean more towards turquoise, so with a bit of yellow mixed into them? Or are they more cool toned? Are they a bit more purple? So if you look at your veins and you can clearly see, oh, I'm certainly more on the turquoise side, or certainly more on the purplish side, that is great. If you can't really understand what we're looking at here, I'm going to show you mine. Mine are looking a bit more turquoise because my skin undertone is very yellow based. Also in my face you can see this. So my skin always looks a bit greenish, bit yellowish, which if I'm wearing the wrong colors, that can make me look really sickly. If I'm wearing the right ones, it makes it look more like a positively glowing olive. So that's very nice. That is what I mean when I say we don't have to wear the colors that we are assigned, but it can make such a huge difference. If you aren't very clear about this one, or if you don't really see a big difference, the next thing that you can do to determine whether you are more cool or warm toned is the metal test. That would be taking something that is silver or something that is gold and holding it up next to your skin. We're mostly looking at the skin and our face because that is going to tell you the most about your color season. And if silver makes you look more shining, more brilliant, more clear, then you're probably more cool toned. If gold makes you look more glowing, then obviously you're more warm toned. Again, if you can't really see a big difference, then that just means that warm and cool is probably not your main aspect. I'm going to talk about this a bit more later. So if you are undecided, honestly, don't worry about it. We're going to discuss more aspects, and one thing is going to stand out to you. One of these aspects is going to be really clear for you, and that is all that matters for now. Now, in my case, I already have a gold mirror behind me, so I naturally gravitate towards gold anyways. I have loads of things in my room that are either like brass, antique brass, or gold. And since I am warm toned, that matches with me quite well. And I think that's an interesting aspect as well. So I don't really wear jewelry, so the gold aspect doesn't really matter to me, but I am incorporating it into my interior design. So color analysis is not purely restricted to only fashion. You can also use it in your interior design. So to sum up hues and undertones again, a color will be warm toned if it is mixed with yellow, and cool toned if it is mixed with blue. It is rare that you are 100% warm or cool toned, so you can be warm, neutral, neutral cool, or cool toned. The next aspect of color analysis would be your value, which is closely tied to your contrast. So you can be either light or dark. That is a bit difficult now because most of the pictures you're going to see when it comes to color analysis are of white people. I know that, and I wanted to address that because I've seen in a lot of other videos that people of color have said that they don't feel represented enough, or that, you know, color analysis is really based on white people. And I agree. It's true. It's very hard for people of color to determine their season, but it's not impossible, and light doesn't necessarily mean that you are white, and dark doesn't necessarily mean that you are dark. So like in the sense of skin color. So I'm a white person, right? But my main aspect is still dark because I've got very high contrast between my dark eyebrows, my dark eyes, and my dark hair. And like I said, everything is on a spectrum, right? So you can be either completely light or completely dark or somewhere in between. So that is where contrast comes in. If you want to find out whether you are light or dark or, medium contrast, take a picture of yourself in good natural lighting. and turn it into grayscale, make it black and white. If you look at that picture now, is your contrast very high? Is it more like medium? Or is it really, really low? So for example, if you turned your picture into black and white and there's rarely any black, so your hair is very light, your skin is very light and kind of sort of blends into each other, that means you have light value. If, however, your contrast is very high, which would be the case for me, I'm going to show you this picture of me now, black and white. So you can clearly see the white of my eye, the black of my iris in this case, and my dark eyebrows, my dark hair against my skin. It's a high contrast, meaning that I am dark. And the same thing applies that if you are a person of color, you can still do this. Turn your photo into black and white. And if the white of your eye stands out next to your skin and your hair, your eye, like the iris of your eye, I mean, then that means you are dark. If everything is sort of blended and you don't have a high contrast, you might be more muted. And that means that dark doesn't necessarily have to be your main feature. Additionally to that, I want to say that I'm obviously no expert when it comes to color analysis. This is something that I've just gotten into purely because of my personal interest in that area, and it's a hobby for me, right? So my eyes are mostly trained on myself as a white person. So if you're looking for more info, more details about how to do color analysis on a person of color, if that applies to you, then I would simply recommend to you go and check out other creators. I know that's going to draw you away from my channel, but that's fine, because do whatever works for you, and I want you to be able to find your own color season. And if another creator can explain that better to you, then absolutely go for it, because my eyes are trained mostly on me, on my features and the people around me, which are mostly white because I live in Germany, so that is what I see most of the time, and what I can tell best apart.
Value and contrast can be summarized as follows. A person with a light appearance usually has light value and therefore a low contrast between their features, and a person with a dark value will have higher contrast between their features, such as the white of your eye, your iris, your eyebrows, your hair, and your skin tone. If you have a dark skin tone, that does not necessarily mean that you are of dark value if you lack the contrast between your features. And if you are light-skinned or white-skinned, that does not necessarily mean that you are light and have a low contrast. What is important is the contrast between your features.
And the last aspect that we are going to look at is your chroma. Chroma meaning how bright and saturated a color is versus how muted it is. So how can you find that out for yourself? That means, once again, it's a spectrum. Try out different clothes that you have at home. For example, I have a very bright red dress. Hold that up to your face if you have something similar. And then choose a color that is more muted, meaning it's less like into your face, less bright obviously. And colors that are muted will naturally have more gray added into it. Colors that are more bright and saturated will be very clear. So what helps me in that case is to take the color wheel from Procreate, or honestly just any other drawing app that you have, or creative app. It doesn't need to be a drawing app, but yeah, look at that, and then drag the color pin more towards the gray area. Those are your muted colors, and the clearer a color is, the more saturated it is. And now, how can you spot whether a bright color looks good on you or whether a muted color looks good on you? Muted people will look best in muted colors because they will make them look harmonious and balanced and, soft in a way. And bright colors will overpower them. If you give a very bright color to a person that is muted, you will notice the piece of clothing first instead of the person that's actually in it, because a very bright saturated color is just too much on that person. However, if you give them a more muted color, it's going to be very balanced, look very chic. And then the same thing goes for bright colored people. If you give them a muted color, they're going to look very washed out. The gray undertones in their skin are going to be picked out more. They will look tired, and that's obviously not what we want in most cases. I mean, unless that's your thing, I don't know, you go for it. But in most of the time, we want to look our best in the sense that we look wide awake, and a person with bright coloring will look best in saturated colors. That will make them look more awake, very, what's the word? Fresh. They will look fresh in bright colors. So I'm going to show that on me with that bright red dress that I was talking about, and then I've got one that is more muted. I think for me personally, it's not so obvious. That just means that it's not my, main aspect. That is not as important for me to determine my own coloring. I just have a natural preference for muted colors.
The chroma of a color can be explained as follows. If there's more grey added into a color, it will be called muted or soft, and if it is bright, that means it's vibrant and clear. Obviously, you can also have medium chroma if you appear neither muted nor bright.
And because it is one thing to explain these things in theory and another thing to actually show them in practice, I'm going to do this thing alongside you, so tying my hair back, no makeup, natural lighting, which is good right now because the sun's out. And I'm going to, show you what all of these aspects look like on me. I must admit, I do feel a bit naked without makeup now, because my go-to look is just always the eyeliner and lipstick, and I'm good to go. So without that, I think it's fine. I don't think I look less pretty without makeup, because we are all gorgeous here. Yeah, I'm not tolerating low self-esteem. If you're watching this and you've, taken off your makeup and you look in the mirror and you see, the blank canvas, you are gorgeous, you are beautiful, right? Thank you. So yeah, this is it. No makeup, hair tied back. And it would be good if you choose something that is very neutral. So like, I'm wearing white now to make it very easy to see all the different colors. So yeah, that is that. That's a blank canvas for you. Now, if you don't have a white hairband like that, hairband? If you don't have a white headband like that, that's totally fine. I just happen to have one, and that makes it a lot easier, because what we're looking for is already in our skin and in our eyes. Especially if you have dyed hair, like if you've colored your hair, then that can make the process a lot harder, because it's obviously not your natural hair, and perhaps you have chosen a hair color that doesn't complement you as much as you would like. So that can really, taint the entire process. So that is also something that color analysis is really good for, hair color. If you are trying to switch up your hair color, a friend of mine actually wants to dye their hair, and we've done the color analysis thing together. Shout out to Patty. Please let me know when you dye your hair, because I want to see the results. So yeah, can really help you before you make such a big decision, whether to choose a more warm hair color or perhaps one that is a bit more cool toned, more bright and vibrant, or something rather that is a bit more muted and understated. So that is also something that color analysis can be really, really good for. Okay, so I don't have a lot of jewelry, right? So I don't have a lot of gold or silver lying around. But I realized I've got these. And now that might be really silly, because that is chocolate paper, like a chocolate wrapper. And that is a bag of Earl Grey tea. So we're taking what we can, all right? So you can then look how the colors look against your skin. Silver versus warm. You probably have jewelry that you can do this with. I don't, so that will have to do. And because I don't usually wear jewellery, I think it's really difficult for me to see the difference that silver versus gold makes, you know, in my skin. So I don't see a big difference, I gotta be honest. I find it very hard still to see whether gold makes me shine more or silver makes me shine more. So the veins test that we've done earlier, where you look at your veins, I think that is way more clear for me. Here, I'm not so sure. I think silver could look good on me too. I don't know. I can't tell. The only thing I can tell is that this chocolate is really good. Yeah. The next aspect that we're looking at is the contrast or value. So like I've already explained, if you are unsure whether you are light or dark, just look at the contrast that you have. So I'm going to put a black and white filter on this. And I think it's pretty clear to see that my eyebrows, my eyes, and the little bit of hair that you can see, or the hair that you can see here, that is a lot darker than my skin is, meaning I've got high contrast, meaning that I am definitely leaning towards the dark side of the spectrum. If you look at yourself in this black and white thing, like the grey scale, and you don't have high contrast, that means that you're probably on the lighter end of things. If you are like not particularly light, so you might not have super blonde hair, light skin, light eyes and all of that, and it's not that clear, but you also don't have high contrast or very dark features, you might just be in the middle and have medium contrast, and that's perfectly fine. If you are not leaning towards one end or the other, it just means that that is not the main aspect for you. And then for the last test, I have 2 tones of red, or shades of red. So I've got this very, very bright red dress. When did I buy that? I bought it for some sort of prom or like a winter ball, Christmas ball. That was it. I think that was 2017 because I still had long hair back then. Wow. So I bought it back then, 17. I've got it for 5.5 years now. See, we're sticking with our clothes here. So that would be my example for a bright color. And that is the only bright color I have. So this is all we have. Yeah, and I feel like that is not so clear on me. I think this red looks quite all right. But I feel it's a bit overpowering. So if I'm wearing a dress like that, and we are obviously judging by the no makeup look right now, I would obviously wear this with makeup because it's rather a formal dress. But yeah, I don't know. It doesn't really bring out any features. I think it brings out my high contrast a bit better, so that's quite nice. And I've chosen a neutral color too, so we're not looking at whether it's warm or cool toned. Red is neutral. So yeah, this is it. I'm just not a fan of bright colors, but I think it would still look like sort of all right on me. And the other dress I have bought last summer in Croatia, in Rovinj. So that is that. And I like that so much better. Now, whether it actually looks better on me, I might just be biased because I like burgundy and I like muted colors. So yeah, I think this looks like equally as good on me as the other red does. It's just that I have a personal preference for colors like this.
Hi, this is Editing Me, and I just felt compelled to come back to this footage because when I look back on it, I realized that I was blind. And I was wrong because I had banned vibrant colors from my wardrobe entirely, and look at what I've been missing out. Can you see how with the vibrant red, my eyes shine so much more. Maybe I'm tripping, but I should probably add a bit more colour to my wardrobe. Something that I don't think I've been afraid of, but something that I was never open to it. So when you do colour analysis, be honest with yourself. Look at the footage, look at the photos, and you might discover that you look good in colours that you were never open to before. So don't miss out on that. You're not forced to wear anything that you don't like, obviously, and you can always wear your favourite colours, because being happy in something that you wear is automatically going to make you shine. But yeah, there are always colours that you don't know of yet and that might make you shine.
But yeah, so for me, the chroma level, I want to say, is neutral to maybe muted, but it's not very obvious, so that is not my main aspect. But if you look at yourself when you drape one piece of clothing that is a bit more muted and you drape one piece of clothing that is bright, you might see a bigger difference. So for example, I think that works especially great for people with blue eyes, because if you drape a very saturated color on you, is that going to bring out the color of your eyes more? Look at that. Or if you drape a color that is more muted, is it just going to dull you out? You know, I think that is a very determining factor. But yeah, personally, I just like muted colors on me and everywhere around me. So that is that. So now that you have determined these 3 factors, we are going to look at which one is the most dominant for you. Meaning, when you look at your face, or when others look at your face, what is the first thing that they notice about it? And now we're obviously not talking about certain features, such as that you have freckles or your nose, the shape of your mouth, anything like that. We are strictly looking for color, obviously. So if you were torn on one of these aspects, which we've discussed, if you had one category where you're like, I really can't determine that, or it's really hard, I'm probably neutral, then that is definitely not your dominant aspect. It's something that you don't really notice if you are not looking for it. So what is the first aspect that you see when you look at your face? Is it that you are very warm or very cool toned? Are you light or are you dark? Or are you very bright or muted? So once you have determined your most dominant feature, we can then look at your second most dominant feature. And that is going to tell you which season you belong to. So if your first aspect is warm, then you can be either warm and muted. That would make you a true autumn. Or you are warm and bright. That would make you a true spring. If you are cool toned, however, again, it can be muted or bright. If you're cool and muted, that means you are a true summer, and if you're cool and bright, you are a true winter. If your first aspect is light, you can either be warm or cool toned as a second aspect. So if you are light and warm, that means you are a light spring. If you are light and cool toned, that means you are a light summer. If your first aspect is dark, the next one can then be either warm or cool again. So dark and warm means you are a dark autumn. That is what my season is. Or if you are dark and cool toned, that means that you are a dark winter. If your first aspect is bright, that means once again your next one can only be either warm or cool toned. If you are bright and warm, that means you are a bright spring. If you are bright and cool toned, that means that you are a bright winter. If your first aspect is that you are muted, then you can be either muted and warm, which would make you a soft autumn, or muted and cool toned, which is a soft summer. If you are undecided about any of these aspects and you can't really figure out which color season you seem to belong to, I would recommend looking at your neighboring color seasons. Every season has one thing in common with a different one. So for example, light can be found both in spring and in summer, dark can be found both in winter and autumn. Warm is both in spring and autumn, cool is for winter and summer. And then muted is for certain aspects of summer and autumn, and bright is for winter and spring. So for example, I was pretty confident when I decided that I am a dark autumn, but then winter came And in winter, I get really, really pale, and the contrast between my pale skin and my dark hair and dark eyes gets a bit bigger. And I was like, what if I am not actually warm toned? And then certain blues look kind of good on me, I thought. I was like, what if I am actually a dark winter? So at that point, just pull up the color palette of your neighboring season and look at it next to your skin. Does that actually look good? Or did you just have second thoughts and are really undecided? Because that was the case for me. I looked at the color palettes, and I'm going to show you that difference, and I'm pretty sure you are going to see it as well. That just did not look good on me. So these icy colors of winter, they clash with my yellowish skin. Even in winter, when I am pale, I am never truly cool toned. Pale doesn't have to mean that you are cool toned. So I could rule out winter. And there was a time when I had like pitch black dark hair. It did not look good on me. It made me look so pale and so icy in a unhealthy looking way. So I could safely rule out winter for me completely. But then I was like, what if I'm not actually as dark as I thought? Imagine if my hair wasn't this like dark sort of, I want to say maybe ebony color or nut color. I don't know what you're going to call that. So what if my main aspect is then warm and my second one would be muted? Because that would mean that my neighboring season of true autumn could be possibly my season. I was really confused. Looking back, it's very obvious that I am a dark autumn. But I was like, hey, just look at it. And I did, and true autumn really looks good on me too. It's not my color season, like that's not the first thing that you see about me, but I can definitely borrow some colors from that palette, and that is the case for most people anyways. So if there are certain colors in a neighboring color palette that you really like, most likely they are going to look good on you as well. Not the best, but definitely good. So if I have explained this well enough, you should now know what your color season is. If I haven't explained it well enough, please let me know in the comments and we can figure it out together if you want. Because I know this can be very, a tricky thing to get into. And sometimes it's very hard to see what looks good on you because you have a certain preference already. Like, I always loved muted colors. So I was never even open to the option of bright colors. And then when I got my dark autumn color palette and there was some like rather vibrant colors in it, I was appalled. I was like, no thank you, I do not want to wear them. And that's fine. You don't have to wear every color that is on your palette. Just, it's an inspiration. And when you go out to shop and to buy new clothes, or you are looking in your wardrobe, because that is what we are encouraging here. You don't always need to buy new clothes. But if you are buying new clothes, you can then look next to your skin. Are they warm or cool? Are they muted or bright? And are they light or dark? And that can really help you pick out clothes that are going to last in your wardrobe, because you will want to wear them over and over again because they just look the best on you. If you found this video helpful, I would really appreciate it if you gave me a thumbs up or perhaps subscribe to my channel. You don't have to, nobody is forced. But I'm talking about color analysis, style, inspiration, different aesthetics, and all of that in more detail here. This is just my second video, so there's loads more to come, but I'm very, very happy to, create more on this topic, and I will see you in my next one. Bye bye, guys.